Okay, we're on. Welcome back. We're going to do a quick recap of where we're up to, where we stopped last time, and we'll continue with that. So the Gamura started off with questioning, how do we know that when it comes to learning about the creation of the world, we should only learn it with one-on-one? So the Gamura brought this pusik from where Moshe Rabbeinu said that in the beginning, if you would start asking about Yiddishkeit, about everything about the Torah, then you should ask yourself, from the beginning of time until the end of time, has anyone ever made such a claim, such a big thing as Matan Torah that all the Yidden witnessed themselves? So the pusik, the Gamura uses this pusik to say, since it talks in singular, only one person asking, and therefore it's appropriate to learn it just with one person. But then the Gamura also used this pusik to set the boundaries as to how far back are we allowed to go, how far back can we go. So the Gamura says that when we learn from from one end of heaven to the other hand, that gives us all the measurements we learned, right? We cannot understand something that takes up no space. We also cannot understand something that has no temperature. Is it cold or hot? I mean, our brains can't comprehend that. We cannot also understand how something has no time, when the present, the future, and the past is all the same thing. It has no limitation in time. Our brains can't comprehend that. So all these measurements, when you start getting into the limitations of creation, that's where our brains can go, but before that, our brains cannot go. So the Gamura says that since we learned that all these measurements go, and we learn these limitations from the words Mitzayah Shemayim Bat Ketzayah Shemayim, then why do we need to have the words where it says Ashaburu Alekim Udam Ala Uretz? What is Moshe Rabbeinu telling us with these words? And here is where we're coming in, where we're up to, and we're going to jump into a new topic where the Gamura says that Moshe Rabbeinu reveals a little secret to us with this little phrase in the pusik, that Hashem created Adam on earth. So the Gamura says, why do we need it? So first we're going to learn the Gamura inside. We're going to see what Rebbi Eliezer and what Yehodah says. And then I would like to give this an explanation, try to come up with making it sense as to how we can relate to it. So Rebbi Eliezer says, to the Rebbi Eliezer says, Udam Rishon was the first person that Hashem created. How big was he? He was Mina Uretz at L'Rukiya. So literal translation would be from earth to the sky, whatever that means. Shenemar, because it says in the pusik, and exactly what we just quoted here, from the day that Hashem created Odom on the earth. So Moshe Rabbeinu is basically revealing us the size, how big Odom was with these words. The Kiddush, the Surah, and once he got, I'm going to use a term here, he did something dirty. It doesn't say sin. Surah is more of a translation that he did something dirty. When Hashem put his hands on him, and he became small. Very encryptic words here, but yeah, that's the word that we're learning here. And I want to come back to it later, but first let's do the words. Shenemar, because it says in Pusik, I have created him, the front, the back, the tushas like apeo, and I put my hand on him, which basically means he's been recreated. So it sees from here that he's been created twice. Once he was very big, and the second time he was much smaller. This is what Rebbi Eliezer says. Umar Rav Yehodah comes and says in the name of Rav, Umar Rav, Udam Rishon, when he was created, he was much bigger. He was Mesofu Olam, but Sofu Olam. He was from one end of the world to the other end of the world. And seemingly way bigger, because the world in a circle is the full, that's the world of the full circle. So if somebody is as big from Earth, which is on one edge of the circle, to the top of the circle, which is to Shemaim, to the sky, he's only a half a circle. But if somebody is big from one end to the other end, then he's the full diameter of the circle of the world. So he's double the size. He was that big. Shenema, because it says in the Pusik, in exactly the same phrase we just quoted, from the day Hashem created Udam on earth, he was from one hand of the heaven to the other hand.
To the other.
When he sinned, Hashem put his hand on him and became small. Now, the Tushas are like a bed, Hashem put his hand on him. So the Gamura now asks, so now we have a question from two psikim. One of them says he was only from earth to sky, which is just a half a circle. The other one says he was the full length of the circle, from one end of the sky to the other. So the Gamura answers, both of these are really the same measurement. Very, very, very encryptic, if I can say the least, because physically we know it's not the same measurement. So what are we talking here? What's going on here? So I'm going to pause here with the Gamura, and I'm going to come back. I'm going to leave this question aside, and I want to first start talking about Udam and Rishon. I want to give a different interpretation about the story with Adam. What happened there? Hashem creates Adam, puts him on earth, and tells him, you can eat anything you want, but from one tree. That one tree, the day you'll eat from that, you'll die, Hashem tells him. Adam is there. He knows about this tree. His wife knows about this tree. And he sees what Hashem created. Hashem created the whole world. Everything literally that your eyes see, he created. He has a problem with this tree. I'll put it even more blunt. You know, you're a father, I'm a father. If I have something that is toxic for my kids, I don't want them to eat it, I lock it up. I don't put it next to my kids. Hashem created the world. He created Adam. And the first man he creates puts him next to some tree that looks very tempting, obviously, and warns him, the day you eat of this, you'll die. Remember, there was no such thing as death before. So what does die mean? We don't even know that. But it's very hard to understand here. What's going on here? So I heard an explanation that what Adam did is Adam realized that Hashem wants him to eat from that tree. He realized Hashem created the whole world. He puts me next to this tree and he warns me not to eat from this tree. I don't know why he's warning me not to eat from the tree, but he definitely wants me to eat from that tree. So the explanation I heard is like this. Hashem created this world, and out of his kindness, he couldn't take Adam and put him into this world in a low level where he would feel disconnected like we feel today. We're at a loss. We're questioning ourselves, does God exist, does not God exist? If he existed, then how come so much evil in the world? How come so much pain? How come so much suffering? Hashem didn't want to put Udam there. He wanted it to be Adam's choice to go there. So Hashem created Adam. And the way Adam was created at that time, he was a soul and a body. But he didn't need his body. There was a soul that didn't need the body because he was outside of his body. He saw Hashem. He saw the creation. He appreciated it all. And he realized that, hey, Hashem does not created me just to stay in this state. He wants me to go down in this world and become the body, become disconnected. And he wants me to choose it. That's why he warns me, don't eat from that tree, because he wants me to eat it, because the day I eat it, that's when I become eclipsed. I'll start knowing what's good and bad. You know why? Because I'll start using my body. Remember, when he used his eyes from his soul, the whole world looks different. he can see through everything. When he uses the eyes of his body, he suddenly starts seeing desires. He suddenly starts seeing things that he likes, that he wants to connect to. Sorry, the phone, I'm trying to disconnect. He suddenly is starting to see things from a bodily perspective. And that's why Hashem didn't want to create him right away into that. Hashem created him in this phase where he was a soul and a body. And then when he would eat from the tree, he would become eclipsed, become into the body. So if that's the case, then why did Hashem punish him? Hashem wanted him to eat from the tree. Why did he punish him with these horrible things? So the answer is that Hashem didn't punish him. Hashem just came and said, you realized my initial intention, what I wanted for you. So let me tell you how this game is going to go. First of all, yes, you feel disconnected. Suddenly you don't see me, you only hear my voice, right? Adam was hiding and he heard Hashem's voice calling him, but he didn't see him anymore. You don't see me. Hashem told me, you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to die one day because I don't want you to be disconnected forever. Yes, you're in this state right now. I wanted you to be in this state. Dying is not a punishment. It's an end for you being in this state so that you can come back at some point. Another consequence to this, or another thing that happens now that we're stuck in the body is hungry. The body has needs. You're going to have to work to fulfill the body's needs. You're going to have to plant and grow things because now you're identifying with your body. You're not your soul anymore. And you know what else happens? Your body has pains. And he told us to Chava that with pain you would give birth, which basically means all kinds of pains that the body has. And we're identifying with these pains. You see, before Adam was sinned, before he ate, calling it a sin, before he ate from the tree, he was his soul. His body was insignificant for him. When you asked him, where are you? He was able to identify himself by his soul. Once he ate from the tree, when you asked him, where are you? He pointed, I'm right here. What happens? If I look here, I'm going to take an MRI. I'm not going to see a soul. I'm going to see some teeth. If I point here, I'll see some neurons. I'm not going to see the person. Suddenly he identifies with his body. This is me. So what happened here is he became eclipsed. In other words, from being the creator, his soul, he became the creation, the body. Because we all are two parts. We have a soul, which is part of the creator, and we have the body, which is part of creation that Hashem created. And now, and we can even see this in we're going to learn later about this, there are these shaidim. Shaidims are, I don't know how to say it in English, devils or demons, that they have a body, but they're not attached to their body. They don't eat like we eat. They don't live like it. They're not so attached to their body that they have to live in only certain habitats in the world. They can live in places where we can't survive because we need to take care of our bodies, and they don't care that much for their bodies. Because of the fact that we are descendants from Adam, who ate from the Eitz Hadas, from this tree, that he became this person that he chose to be, and therefore this is how life happens for being within this world, completely in this world, which was originally Hashem's attention. So now when we come back and we're going to read these Gamura, things can start making sense here. So the Gamura starts off with Rebbi Eliezer saying that diminution was very big. How big? From heaven to the sky. No limits. When he sinned, he suddenly Hashem put his hand on him and he became small. Basically, I can give a translation that, again, I don't remember if I saw it anywhere, maybe I did. But when someone works and someone creates something, he uses his hands. Although Hashem didn't use his hands to create the world, he created with words. But here, he became the product, not the creator. He became the creation. He became his body. That's what it means. Hashem put his hand on him and he's now the creation. He's now the person stuck in this world, versus before he identified as a soul and he was very big. Rebbi Yehodah says the same thing, but it gives a different measurement. And now, since this measurement is not a physical measurement, it's a measurement of a soul, we can understand how the Gamura says, yeah, they're both the same thing. Because a soul, you can call any measurement, and the soul has no size. It's from one end of the universe to the other. It's a part of Hashem. So we can understand now how the Gamura would encrypt all of this, saying, this is what Moshe Rabbeinu said as a message in there. He didn't just come and say, hey, you want to know how big Adam Rishon was? He gave them the message as he was created with a soul and a body. The soul was the dominant. The soul was the way he identified himself in the beginning. Later, only because of what he did, he started identifying with his body, that the body is the thing. But really, the soul is the thing. That's the first step. The second step, Moshe Rabbeinu gives us another message here. Moshe Rabbeinu thinks, he wants to tell us, you think you're small? You think you're only a body? That wasn't you. That's not really you. Really you is the soul which has no limitations. You're not small. You can do anything and everything in the world. And if you don't see it now, then you can create it. You have the power of the creator within you. And that's the message Moshe Rabbeinu is encrypting in that word, saying how big he was, because we should all know how big we really are. And really, it's a message for us now as well, because we have times when we feel our souls more. We have times, maybe Shabbos, maybe special holiday, maybe at the Seder. I don't know, everyone has their times when they relate to, when they feel their soul, they feel Hashem's presence more. But what happens if the person sins? This person does a mistake, he suddenly becomes numb to that feeling. You know, you stop feeling it, you suddenly become detached. And this is exactly what happens here. He has detached himself to live in this world, in the lowest place, so that he can bring that back to Hashem, so that he can serve Hashem from within this place, which was the original intention of Hashem's creating the world. And that's basically the message here, that although we shouldn't be sinning intentionally, obviously, but if we do, we should know it's part of the plan. Hashem wanted it to be here, and he needs us to be in here, and he wants us from here, from this place, to come back and lift it up and get closer to him. You agree? You agree with this translation? You're okay with it?
This is a very interesting observation. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to pause here. And the Gamura from here on, although the Gamura says you should not be learning about the creation, but the Gamura dives right into it and says everything that was created right in the beginning, at the first day of creation, of those 6 days, what happened right in the beginning, right then and there. So we're going to get to this next time. And sorry for being so short this time, but thank you for coming along.